always loved that song ever since the first time I heard it on that recording. Voices of Winter, is that what it's on?
Maybe.
I think so. But it's just so haunting, and it goes into your soul and it doesn't leave. So the words are, of course, they're Hebrew. At least, the Hebrew words were Hebrew, and then the English words were not exactly a translation, more of an interpretation of the feeling of the meaning of the Hebrew. Hannukah, Hannukah, by this light remember, when we lived in peace. So today is actually, well, tonight I should say, is the first night of Hannukah, provided my calendar was accurate, which sometimes the calendars will put that first day. Sometimes it'll be on the day when Hanukkah starts in the evening, and sometimes our calendars will actually put it on the next day, because in the Jewish tradition, the day actually starts at sundown. That's why the Sabbath celebrations start at sundown of the previous day. So Sabbath in the Jewish tradition starts actually on Friday night at sundown. That's when the day begins. It's similar to, at least it ties in with how in the Jewish tradition, fall is the beginning of the year. So it starts with this period of everything beginning to die, and then you have the death of winter, and then you have renewal, and the days are just the same. That's so all of the Jewish high holy days, they tend to be actually in that end of September, early October time, and so Hanukkah is actually it's kind of one of those. It's a holiday, yes, around this time of year, and yes, it is the miracle of lights, but it doesn't have the same significance in the Jewish faith as the high holy days of Yom Kippur, for example. But in honor of the fact that Hanukkah is starting now, today's reading actually comes. It's an apocryphal reading from First Maccabees, verses 29 through 41. So it's a little bit long, and it's not precisely the story that we always associate with Hanukkah. The miracle of lights, the oil lasting for 8 days. This happens long before, and there are decisions made in this particular text that make the situation for the miracle to happen and to be possible. At that time, many who were seeking righteousness and justice went down to the wilderness to live there. They, their sons, their wives, and their livestock, because troubles pressed heavily upon them. I'm going to interrupt the story for a moment. See, at this time, there was another nation that was taking over Jerusalem, the holy cities, and the people were being oppressed and told that they had to worship a different god, and that they had to do things that were anathema to their own faith. And so people were fleeing and they were resisting. The story continues. And it was reported to the king's officers and to the troops in Jerusalem, the city of David, that those who had rejected the king's command had gone down to the hiding places in the wilderness. Many pursued them and overtook them. They encamped opposite them and prepared for battle against them on the Sabbath day. And they said to them, "Enough of this! Come out and do what the king commands, and you will live." Sometimes the pronouns get a little bit lost. So that was the king's men, the pursuers, who were saying to those who were trying to live justly and in peace and without being oppressed, enough of this. Come out and do what the king commands, and you will live. But those who had fled said, "We will not come out, nor will we do what the king commands, and so profane the Sabbath day." Then the enemy quickly attacked them. But those who had fled did not answer or hurl a stone at them or block up their hiding places, for they said, "Let us all die in our innocence. Heaven and earth testify for us that you are killing us unjustly." So the king's men attacked the fleeing people on the Sabbath, and they died with their wives and children and livestock, to the number of 1,000 people. When Matthias and his friends learned of it, they mourned for them deeply. Matthias is of the Maccabee family. And all said to their neighbors, "If we all do as our kindred have done and refuse to fight with the Gentiles for our lives and for our ordinances, they will destroy us from the earth." So they made this decision that day: "Let us fight against anyone who comes to attack us on the Sabbath day. Let us not all die as our kindred died in their hiding places." Isn't that a powerful reading? And how often throughout history have we seen just that same display, that same story play out of people who have been long oppressed, who have been engaging in nonviolence for years, say, enough is enough. And it was because of that decision that Matthias and his friends made when they said, "You know, we have our rights too." That was the key decision. When they said, we deserve to live. We deserve to live as free people. We deserve to live and worship as we want to live and worship. And it was that decision that then made possible the set of events that came to bring about the miracle of light. So I made a note here. This decision is what catalyzed the possibility of the miracle of lights. The Sabbath was made for humankind to delight in God. It is impossible to truly delight in God while subjected to the cruel rule of authoritarian dictatorship or under the thumb of oppression. It is important, therefore, to actively resist evil at all times, because Sabbath rest cannot be restful until evil is gone.